All right, shalom, shalom. I'm Y'all coming at you with another lesson straight out of Lions Den Camp from Yashala. But before I get started with this lesson, I would like to give all praise to the Heavenly Father in the name of His only begotten Son in their proper true names. We're going to start off by saying Kal, Halayim, La, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Ha, Rakah, Kodash, Ma'amath. Definitely want to give double honors to the elder apostles of JMS and their elders. Definitely want to give double honors to my elder, Ahar One, Bahan Yashala of the Lions Den Camp, located right here in Jacksonville, Florida. Excuse me. I want to say shalom to the sincere men, women, and children. All right, to the Lions Den Camp, to the rest of the elect that's out there. Shalom, shalom. All right, today's lesson is going to be going over the incident that happened in Venezuela. All right, this article here it says Vigil for Venezuela held by a Lansing organization. Right. All right, so the article reads, it says, the Greater Lansing Democratic Socialists of America hosted a vigil for Venezuela at the state capitol January 8th. Dozens in the community came to pay their respects to those killed in the U.S. military operation to capture the country's president. Right? It says, Venezuela's government has said a number of people died, right, but has not confirmed exactly how many. Right? It says Cuba's government, however, did confirm that 32 Cuban military personnel were killed in the operation, right? At the visual candles were lit in their honor, right? And you know, if Cuba's involved, that's really, and Trump was, I'm not Trump, but Russia was already going to be involved because of Venezuela, but if Cuba definitely starts stepping in, that's going to bring, remember the Cuban Missile Crisis, man. That's gonna definitely bring in the BRICS nations, man. But that's that's really what's going on, man. This really has nothing to do with terrorism, drug trafficking, stuff like that. This is really about oil, man. This is what all of this is really about. But allegedly, is you gotta say allegedly. It's really about the trafficking, the drug trafficking, all right? But we know what it's really about, man. Because look what Trump did with the oil tanker, man. He straight up snatched that bad boy and said he ain't giving it back, right? So at the end of the day, and that was another, that's really all they've been talking about, man. They really haven't been talking about no drug trafficking at all. It's all, every time he comes out and speaks, it's about, the oil. We have the oil. You don't think China pissed off, man? You're going to butt the oil and you're not going to give it back, right? Now you're trying to take over one of the biggest oil spot in the world right now, which is Venezuela. They have a lot of oil over there, man, and you trying to take control over it, right? Because America's in heavy debt, right? You're in heavy debt with China alone, So, so now you went to, basically allegedly take over this oil, but you had to unalive a lot of people to do it, right? And you had to capture their president and his wife, right? To make them make them, to basically put them on the front lines, right? In the media, like, look what we did. We'll do that. We'll come snatch up your president or whatever, right? And take over your country, That was a power move, man. That was, and that's why on the internet, I'm sure people, if you've been paying attention, a lot of people have been seeing Trump, looking like a YN, got heavy jewelry on, walk around Tim's, they feel like that was a gangster move, man. There's nothing gangster about that, man. Ain't nothing gangster about what he did at all, man. The only thing he's doing is, just like how the Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai has hooks in Putin jaws, he had hooks in Trump jaws too, right? Controlling, and all this is to bring forth his prophecies, man. Matter of fact, let's go to Habakkuk 2, man. This is Habakkuk 2 and 4. Really, you can read from 1 all the way down to 6, but we'll start at 4 real quick just to get to the point. Behold, his soul which is lifted up, right, is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith, right, man? His soul is not lifted up, man. This is a wicked man that we dealing with, man. One that already said he's not going to heaven. Let him tell it. This Christianity bull crap right there. But He know he knows he's not, man. January 6th should have showed y'all a lot, man. All of this, he's constantly been moving outside of Congress, man, making moves outside of Congress approval, man. He don't wait for them. When he wants something done, he go gets it done, man. That's that soul that's not upright up within him, man. Verse 5 says, yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlarges his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, right? I mean, dang, that's perfect example of what happened in January 6th, man. He just got that. He got that prideful spirit, man. And then look now, 80 people, man. Because further along we get into that article, man, it gets up to 80 people that was unalived in this action. All for some oil, allegedly. Let them tell it was drug trafficking, to stop the drug trafficking and change the regime, right? But it's all about the oil, man, to get America out of debt for one, and to basically bring in money and power and control. That's what it's about, man. But as I said, who enlarges his desire as hell and is as death and cannot be satisfied, man. It's a lot of unaliving comes behind his desires, man. And the grave follows behind his desires, man. Because he uses the sword. He uses one of the blessings, that Isaac gave unto their nation, man. Using the sword to gain their desires, man. Right, and that sword brings forth unaliving more than likely. Some are wounded, and but most of the time, the people are, the grave follows behind it, man. Back to the article, Salaki. It says, I'm so sorry. It says, Salaki, y'all. It says Venezuela government has said a number of people died, but has not confirmed exactly how many. Cuba's government, however, did confirm that 32 Cuban military personnel were killed in the operation. At the Vigil, candles were lit in their honor. It says Sam Nelson is the co-chair of the Greater Lansing Democratic Socialists of America. He says that the organization is upset with the continued violence. It says, quote, at DSA, we are always devastated to see the use of force unprovoked, right, to promote regime change, right, unprovoked. That was the key word right there. Right, to promote regime change around the world. Nelson says, quote, we thought it would be important to have some sort of visual. We all have seen different types of protests, and this one felt like one to take a step back and think about the 80 plus folks who were unalived were in this action. It says, on January 3rd, the United States launched an attack on Venezuela to capture its president, Nicolas Maduro. He was, man, there's something about this man when it comes to January. Just saying, January 6th, January 3rd. All right, that man getting the spirit in the time of Janus, don't he? But anyways, it says, the United States launched an attack on Venezuela to capture its president, Nicolas Maduro. Right, it says he was their president for more than 10 years, right? But they want to make it seem like he's a dictator, man. Right? Just look up the definition of a dictator, man. It's like Trump is a dictator. Right? To be honest. It says he was their president for more than 10 years and is now the U.S. custody facing narco-terrorism charges. Excuse me. So sorry. Salaki. It says the operation to seize him left dozens dead in Venezuela, which brought Lansing residents like Henry Vozo to the Vigil. He says that military action from the United States is not right. I was freaked out. It's quote, I'm sorry, quote, I was freaked out about the military action in Venezuela, said Vozo. I just don't think we have any business overseeing a regime change in Venezuela. It says, many at the gathering wanted to spread a positive message and come together. Nelson says He hopes people can connect with one another at the Vigil. The only way through it is together. I hope folks tonight can meet people they have not before and get better and get better perspectives. So like it says, 2 months of silence were held. 2 moments of silence were held at the Vigil. One for Venezuela and another for Renee Goods, which is probably going to be another lesson of mine. Right? Renee Goods is the lady that was unalived by ICE. All right? But it's just goes to show you, man, all the stuff that, Trump has on his plate, man. All the wickedness that's, being counted, against him, man. He's going to have to pay for all of that, man. But, look what ICE is doing. Look what he done did to, to these 80 people. You don't care what nobody say, man. It's for the oil, man. It ain't got nothing to do about drug trafficking, nothing like that, man. It's strictly about the oil, man. That's what it's all about, right? To take control over one of the biggest oil spots in the world, man. Right? It's all coming from Venezuela, man. Now he has his hands on it. Now he feel like he's in control, right? Now China is going to have to answer to them. You think China finna sit back and just keep allowing you to keep trying them like that? Again, this goes back to that enlarging his desires as hell, man. All right, this back at Habakkuk 2. All right, we go to verse 5. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, man. Death follows behind his desires, man. January 6th was wasn't a key factor to a lot of, if that should have been a key factor to a lot of people on how this man was going to move during this term. Right, how things was going to operate, him moving outside of Congress, doing what he wants to do, moving like he's a king, right? Death follows behind his desires, man. He's not going to stop, right? He mentioned Greenland, which is overseen by some, I think that's Denmark, a NATO country, right? Which is going to end up going into Habakkuk 2 and 6, right? Where these nations are going to end up, turning against the whore that rides upon the scarlet color. That rides upon the scarlet colored beast, man. Which I believe that's in Revelation 17:16. This is Habakkuk 2 and 6. It says, "Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his?" Right. You don't think China's saying that right now? Salaki, I'm a little under the weather, y'all. Salaki. But it says, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. How long, man? Right. China ain't finna keep allowing that's type of stuff to happen, man. You really think the BRICS nation is gonna allow you to take over Venezuela so you can control all that oil? All that debt y'all in, you owe China, right? And you gonna take their oil? And then try to, boy, that's some YN stuff right there, boy. You gonna take what belongs to them, then try to sell it back to them. That's just like in the hood, like, if, excuse me for this, but that's just like in the hood. Let's say somebody go in the trap house and they take the drugs out the trap house. Then they come back the next day while the boys in the trap house trying to figure out what happened. They come back and, like, I'll say a couple days later and be like, hey, man, I got this new such and such, such and such. And they try to sell it to the same ones they stole it from. Ones that really know, be like, bro, this is my package, bro. And it's all out war. But that's the type of stuff he on right now, man. He doing. That's why you see him in all these memes and stuff like that on social media. Him walking around in Timbs and all these gold jewelry on, gold teeth in his mouth like he a thug. Because that's the type of movement he's been making. All right. But like it says, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay, man. That's going into debt. You know, boy, they in debt with China, man. And you gonna take their oil. Man, this man be wildin', man. You know. But that really goes to show you, man, this man is a prideful, you know, he's very prideful, man. You know, there's something wrong with that boy, for real. I'm gonna go real quick. Let's go to Obadiah real quick. In the 15th chapter. No, I'm joking. I'm just joking. It's only one chapter, man. All right. Let's go down to, where is it? Man, all that hit hard right there, though. Yeah, man. I wasn't gonna get into all that. I'm gonna jump now. I might say that for my next video. All right, this is Obadiah 1. And 15. Obadiah 1 and 15, and it reads. It says, for the day of the Lord, right? In all caps, right? That means Yahweh, right? His name goes there. For the day of Yahweh is near upon all the heathen, as thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thy own head, right? So again, their reward is going to return upon their own head. Speaking of America as a whole, man, you know, all this pillaging and destruction they have done, you know, these other nations, man, you know, that goes into Revelation 17:16. I believe that's the precept about basically them turning against the whore and hating the whore, man, and basically shooting arrows at the whore. And let me see, let me make sure that's the right precept. So Revelation 17. Nope. Yeah, it says in Revelations 17:16, and the 10 horns, right, going to NATO countries in the EU. When you speed it up all the way to the day, right, that's you know, the breakdown that is going into the NATO countries, right, the 10 horns, which thou sawest upon the beast shall upon the beast these shall hate the whore, right, and that's the point, right. So, you know, now there's been talks about Greenland. Now you messing with NATO countries, man. You know, because Greenland is overseen by Denmark, right? Now one of these horns, man. You know, one of these horns, you're gonna end up pissing off one of these horns, and once you do that, man, the rest of the horns are gonna have to gather up. You know, you just gotta remember, America is the one that rides upon the scarlet colored beast, man. You know, so it's almost like they felt like, you know, like they tamed the beast. You know, they the ones that's riding the beast, you know, controlling the beast where they want the beast to go, right? And it's all because of the military might, their democracy, their religion, the fiat, that money, that greenback, you know. That's really what, you know, controls the world, man. And you know, once these 10 horns, you know, once they start feeling like how the BRICS is feeling, you know, America's done for, man. You know, that's why you're going to see what John saw. You know, Lord, when I'm part of that number, right, to only see it with my eyes only, right, to see that lake of fire, right, which is Babylon turned, you know, destroyed with nuclear missiles, man. You know, thus saith the Lord. You know, thus saith Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua. But it says, verse 16, it says, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, right? And shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua have put in their hearts to fulfill his will, man. And that's what people don't understand, man. People think these people, you know, all of this stuff is just happening just because, no. The Lord said it was going to happen this way, and he warned us about it. And it's all to see who's paying attention, and who's believing into his word, man. If you don't believe in his prophecies, you're going to get caught up in his prophecies, man. It says, and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast and until the words of Yahweh shall be fulfilled, man. All right, so back at, where was that? Back at Obadiah, verse 15. But I just want to, I only want to grab this so I can get the part about basically returning upon their own head, right? Obadiah 1:15, for the day of the Lord, right? Day of Yahweh is near upon all the heathen, right? All the heathen, right? It shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thy own head, man. So the same thing you did to Hiroshima and Nagasaki, same thing you just did over there in Venezuela, the same thing you done did, throughout history. Shit. All that's going to be done, right? It's coming right back to you, man. Let's go. I got one more precept and I end it, man. Let's go to Psalms. This is just a wicked man. Wicked man, but he's being ran by Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. They think he's so gangster though, man. This man ain't gangster. Ain't nothing gangster about Trump, man. He ain't even swaggerlicious like that, man. Like, anyways, man. It's just funny how people put they start looking up to people when people make moves like this, man. It's like, how y'all go from hating the man to now you basically, even though you might still not like the man, but basically you put him, in this light now, like, yeah, look, that kind of was sweet what he did in Venezuela. Like, man, that kind of show his, like, he ain't fucking off. Like, man, I ain't even finna go there, but just know, like, man, this man ain't doing nothing sweet at all, man. But this is Psalms 10. All right, I'm gonna start off at 1. Why standest thou afar off, O Yahweh? Why hidest thyself in times of trouble? The wicked in his pride doeth persecute the poor. Let them be taken in their devices that they have imagined, right? Going into the one biggest device, right, which would be that RFID CHIP, right? That they will be, implementing into the body, right? As well as those ICBMs, right? It said, let them be taken in the device that they have imagined. For the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire, and believeth the covetous whom the Lord abhorreth, man. They boast and look. I don't know if y'all been paying attention, but look what everything Trump been saying. He been talking hella shit, man. He been talking reckless up there on the podium, man. Very reckless, Yeah, that's all. We're gonna keep it. Like what y'all thought we was gonna do, like, and we gonna go try Denmark. On Greenland, Like, who gonna stop me? That's their mindset, man. We done videos on that as well, man. Who's gonna bring me down? It's the mindset of Trump, man. Right, boasting of his heart's desire, man. Remember, their desire bring forth that grave, man. Somebody's gonna have to be on the line for them to get what they want, man. Right, verse 4: the wicked, through the pride of his countenance, will not seek after Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. It says Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua is not in all his thoughts, man. It's not. Even though the Lord's controlling him, he's not thinking about the Lord. Like, he thinking he really doing this shit on his own. Like, nah, bro. The Lord is controlling you, man. Right? The king's heart is in control of the Lord's hand, man. It says, paraphrase, verse 5, his ways are always grievous. See, his ways are always grievous. Thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them, right? See? Right? And he puffeth at them, man. And what's that going to do, man? It's going to cause them to strike back, man. What's going to bring forth basically the NATO countries, Russia, China, shit. Basically, the whole world's going to end up hating the whole whore, man, and that's the route that Trump is leading us to, man. It says, Excuse me for that, my stomach. Verse 6, he hath said in his heart, I shall not be moved. Right? See the mindset? It says, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity, man. Let's read in the NLT. It says, they think nothing bad will ever happen to us. We will be free of trouble forever, man. Man, that's not the case, man. The Lord said he's going to send, what? It's going to be a bad day for them in that day, man. And when the Lord show up, excuse me, when the Lord show up, when Yahweh show up, well, they're going to be a bad case, man. You know? But this is their mindset. This is their pride. This is their heart, right? Their mind, right? This is what they believe, you know? It says, he have said in his heart, I shall not be moved, right? So now we going to go to Greenland. Then what we're going to do after that, I'm coming up with some more crazy shit, man. Trump, you know? Trump is on a rampage, man. I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief and vanity. He sitteth in the lurking places of the villages. In the secret places doth he murder the innocent. His eyes are privily set against the poor. Right, look what's going on. Excuse me, I couldn't even get it out. It's like Renee Goods, man. You know, that lady was unalive. She was just trying to get up out of there. Now, and I know this is off topic, but the police officer could have just shot the tire. He was that close. But again, look at the police officer, right? Look at the mindset that the Lord has put on these people, man. You know, they are all about kill first. Excuse me, it's like unaliving first, right? You could have shot both tires. You was on both. You was right there. Boom, boom, shot the tire. The lady crashed anyways after you shot her. You know, so she would have crashed when you shot her tires, but she still would have been alive and probably, you know, it probably wouldn't have been as bad either. You know, the whole situation. But now this lady has been, you know, her life has been taken. You know, all because she really wasn't even supposed to be messed with in the first place. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I'm gonna stay on topic. I'm just saying that junk kind of made me mad. Like, you know, for you to be you know, to have been taught tactics, why didn't you use certain tactics? You know, unaliving shouldn't be your first go-to. It should be you take certain measures to, you know, nullify the situation, right? You could have shot the tires, right? Boom. Now her whole driver's side is she ain't gonna be able to drive like that too far, you know. But anyways, man, this is their mindset, man. This is what's in their hearts, man. Right? It says his eyes are privily set against the poor. He lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lieth in wait to catch the poor. He doth catch the poor. When he draweth him into his net, he croucheth and humbleth himself, that the poor may fall by his strong ones, man. He hath said in his heart, God hath forgotten. He hideth his face. He will never see it. Right? And that's what they think. They think since the Lord turned his face from us, man, speaking of the Negro, Latinos, Native Americans, the Israelite, they think the Lord don't see what's going on. Right? The Lord see what's going on, man. Right? We go back to Habakkuk 2 and we don't read it. Right? He see what's going on. Right? It says, but you know, in their mind, they like, man, the Lord don't see none of this. The Lord is controlling all of this, bro. What you mean? Right? It says, verse 12, and this is what we say, man. Arise, O Yahweh, our power. Lift up thy hand, right? Forget not the humble. Wherefore doth the wicked contemn God, right? He hath said in his heart, it's like, thou will not require it. All right, let's read that in NLT. It says, why do the wicked get away with despising God? They think God will never call us to account, right? And that's what they think, man. And they think they could contend with the Most High. They think they can be him. They think they can, you know, that he ain't going to do nothing. And it's like, all you doing is just, you know, stacking up your sin on sin on sin, man. So the Lord can, when he do strike, he going to strike That's why the scriptures say it's gonna be something they never seen before, man. The salvation is gonna be so strange that it's gonna be something they really never seen before, man. That's just to put their ass in straight fear, man. To show them like, right, Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, that is true power, right? What they think they could do here on earth is sand, is dust to them, right? Dust to Yahweh and dust to Yahweh Shai. It means nothing, right? It really holds no power. Right? It says, thou hast seen it, for thou beholdest mischief and spite to require it with thy hand. The poor committeth himself unto thee. Thou art the helper of the fatherless. Break thou the arm of the wicked and the evil man. Seek out his wickedness till thou find none. Yahweh is king forever and ever. The heathen are perished out of his land. Yahweh, thou hast heard the desire of the humble. Thou wilt prepare their heart. Thou wilt cause thine ear to hear, to judge the fatherless and the oppressed, that the man of the earth may no more oppress, man. That's what we're looking for, man. But again, let's go back to Habakkuk, and we'll end it. All right, Habakkuk 2. Right? Because again, all this has an appointed time. And what Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua is doing right now is getting everything put into place, right? To make all of his prophecy be fulfilled, man. Right? The times of the Gentile, right? All of it has to be fulfilled, man. Right? And ain't that many more. It says, this is Habakkuk 2:1. It says, I will stand upon my watch, right? And this is what we do still. And set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. It says, and Yahweh answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it, right? So just like how the Lord has blessed us in the spirit of truth to understand these prophecies, now we'll continue to push these prophecies and teach our people of the prophecies and warn the people of what's to come, in. Right? All of this stuff that's going on right now is bringing forth World War III, and what's going to bring forth these countries hating the whore, man. All right, these other countries, all right, which is going to further lead to, to World War III and Yahweh Shai coming to gather his elect, man, through that nuclear destruction. All right. Right, it says, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak. See, and we're at the end, right? As we see the prophecy speaking, right? A lot of 2/3 of our people don't understand because they caught up in Christianity, going to these churches, ain't being taught nothing, right? But the ones that's been led by the Spirit, right, the Holy Spirit, right? Those are the ones that see what's coming. Those are the ones that are patiently waiting, because we even though other people think that this stuff is tearing, we know it's not tearing, because it's happening quick. This is coming quick, y'all. All right, it says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not tarry, and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. See, it will not tarry. That's just for them unbelievers, man. The ones who don't understand. They think it's tarrying, man. But we see every piece being moved is leading right up to these prophecies, man. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gather unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Right? And he think just because he can go around doing stuff like that he did to Venezuela, that he's not gonna really have to pay for it. Like nobody's gonna be able to do anything, man. And all that's doing is just leading up to the prophecy of the BRICS nations going against America, man. And eventually it's gonna be the BRICS and NATO nations, right? Again, it's really just America and the state of Israel. That's what it's going to lead down to. America's state of Israel going to be left alone, right? Parts of NATO and a bunch of the BRICS is going to be destroying them, right? All right, so, all right, which goes right into verse 6, right? Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, how long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay in that debt, shall they not rise up, and suddenly that shall that shall bite thee, right? Shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them? See, the Lord's showing you, man. He gonna make them turn against the whore, man. You know, he's gonna make Russia and China and them go against. That's already promised to happen, right? But he's gonna also make NATO join in. You know, I'm personally just been waiting on Turkey myself, because Turkey been playing, like they've been playing both sides, right? They've been being that mediator for Ukraine and Russia for one. Technically, it's been talks of them leaving NATO, right? But at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter, man. What matters is that basically NATO turns against America, right? And NATO, boy, y'all in bad shape, NATO boy. Cause think about it, man. You got all this stuff going on with Russia right there. Y'all scared that Russia's finna come take over y'all, right? Now America's talking about taking over Greenland. It's like, well, who you really gonna get to fight for you? Turkey caught up between the Russia and Ukraine war. I mean, that's your second biggest military. Like, who else you got? That can stand up to America, or that can stand up to Russia or China. Well, I can say Russia and China. So BRICS, NATO really ain't gonna have no choice. They ain't gonna have no choice. Either join up with BRICS or join up with or let America do what they want to do. In America, Britain, they prideful too. NATO countries, they prideful too. They ain't gonna just sit there and think, But their problem was they waited too long to get prepared for war. They trying to beat their plowshares into swords now. They pruning hooks into swords too late. You well too far behind in your military strength. All right. Not saying they can't do anything. I'm just saying they kind of outdated. That's all I'm saying. They outdated a little bit. All right. Verse 8, because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee because of men's blood, and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. See? Because of the spoils, man, and the blood that you have shed, you're going to have to account for all these, Babylon, right? It says, woe to him that covereth evil, woe to him that covereth an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil, man. Right. So that was pretty much it, man. So Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. Just remember, man, these prophecies are speaking, they're not tearing. The Lord is getting these chess pieces moved in the right places. But America's gonna have to pay, man. Babylon, America is gonna have to pay for the things they have done to the world, to these other nations, all the unaliving and the bloodshed they have spilled on this planet, man. All for their desires. All right, so again, Lord willing, this lesson edifying. Shalom and DTA.